Welcome to the Project Management Prepcast, helping you prepare for the PMP exam. Here's your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner.
Hello and welcome to the Project Management Prepcast, the only PMP exam preparation course that you can listen to in your car. But please, keep your eyes on the road. I'm your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner. This episode is an overview of the PMP exam content, which is what the PMP exam will actually be testing you on. Our learning goals are that you should first of all understand how the PMP exam was developed. You should know the general content, the knowledge that you need, on which you will be tested on during the exam, and what percentages of questions come from which PMBOK guide domain. When you look at the PM Prepcast's table of contents, you will see that we have a number of exam content-related lessons, of which this is the first one. Here is what you are going to see in all of these lessons. First, and of course most obvious, you are going to get a detailed review of the PMP exam content, but not just any content, but the content as it has been defined by PMI. PMI has documented this PMP exam content in a 15-page long PDF file. It's called the Examination Content Outline. It is available from their website. So, much of what you see in these coming lessons is based on that very document. We will take a look at each of the 5 domains of initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, as well as closing, to see what will be on the test. And by doing this review, we want to answer the question, what does the exam actually test you on? As an analogy, the PMP exam is a game, and these lessons show you the rules of how the game works, as well as what the game plan is. As we are doing this review, we will be talking a lot about tools and techniques that you need to be aware of and be able to apply in each of these 5 domains. We will, however, not review these tools and techniques in detail because we review them in other lessons here on our course on the Prepcast. At this point in your studies, I fully expect that you know what a WBS is and what deconstruction means. However, the PMP exam content outline talks a lot about knowledge and skills that you as a project manager have to have. Some of them are new, and we will look at these skills in detail. Others that you are already familiar with will be mentioned, but without a detailed review. And finally, we are taking this opportunity of reviewing ethics. As you will see, the exam content is described in tasks that you as the project manager need to perform on a project. So, we will take these tasks and look at how to handle these, either ethically or unethically. For instance, when creating a WBS with the team, you have to be fair to everyone on the team and let everyone have their say. But before we do that, we first have to understand how PMI created the PMP exam. I mean, do they just sit down and start writing exam questions? Far from it. Here's a quote from the exam content document. It says, "The first step in developing a certification examination is to define the responsibilities of the recipient of the credential." So what PMI did is they did a survey among project managers around the world and asked, what do you actually do in your day-to-day job? This is called the role delineation study. PMI does this study every 5 to 7 years, and based on it, the exam content outline, that's the PDF document I mentioned, is created. It's about 15 pages long or so. This document differs from the PMBOK guide because the guide is a framework on how to manage a project, and the content outline is a document that describes the exam subject matter of the PMP exam. As you will see, the exam content outline is divided into the 5 domains that you are already familiar with, and for each of these 5 it gives you tasks and skills, which we will review. In this table here, you can see the 5 domains on the left and also what the percentage is of the questions that you will get on the PMP exam. Remember, on the exam you'll have to answer 200 questions, and the percentage number here, that says how many come from initiating, planning, etc. Note where the bulk of the questions come from. They are in planning, executing, as well as monitoring and controlling. This means that the focus of your study should really be in this areas, without ignoring initiating and closing, of course, because they are still worth 20% together. If you are below proficient in these 2 domains, you can still fail the exam. But the bulk of the questions, at least, they are from the 3 middle domains. Now that we know how the PMP exam content was developed and what % of questions come from which domain that you'll be tested on, let's look at the big picture and ask ourselves, what are the general high-level exam topics, the content you will be tested on? And then we'll jump into the details. As a general rule, 75% of the exam content is related to the PMBOK guide. That doesn't mean that the exam will ask you questions like, what does it say in paragraph 3 on page 17 of the PMBOK guide? Instead, it will test your understanding in using and applying the concepts and tools and techniques that you can find in the PMBOK guide in project management situations. So this means that as part of your PMP exam prep, you must know everything there is to know about the 5 domains of the PMBOK guide, as well as the 9 knowledge areas and how to apply those on a real live project situation. Another important factor that you cannot ignore is the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. PMI and the PMP exam come from the PMI and the PMP exam come from the assumption that ethical behavior is part of the overall fabric of you as a project manager. It is not something that can be seen separately. So it's not that there is the how of we manage projects and, well, yeah, here on the side there is also ethics. Instead, the how of managing projects includes ethics. It has to be done ethically. That is why we will review ethics on almost every task in the coming lessons. The other 25% of the exam, well, they come from other areas of business. PMI is not very specific about where they come from, but generally we know that they are things like general management techniques, human behavior, advanced quality tools, delegation, critical chain, decision tree, virtual teams, etc. So these are all things that you have learned about in other lessons here on the Prepcast. With all that said, here is an overview of what it is that the PMP exam actually tests. First of all, there are the project management processes. That's the first line here, and these are taken from the PMBOK guide, page 43. I believe there are a total of 42 of them across the 5 domains. Then there are content tasks. These are the specific tasks that the role delineation study has identified as tasks that we project managers have to be able to perform in each of the 5 domains. Ethics, straight from the Code of Ethics, as applied in each domain. Then we have the domain skills. The PMP exam content describes specific knowledge and skills that are required from us in each of the 5 domains. And then there are also the general skills, the last line here in the table. These are officially called cross-cutting knowledge and skills in the PMP exam content documentation. These are things like active listening or relationship management, and we project managers have to be able to apply these across all of the 5 domains. As a general rule, we can say that the processes from the PMBOK guide are the topic of all the other lessons that you can view here on the Project Management Prepcast. So they are not part of the lessons here that discuss the PMP exam content specifically. However, the tasks, ethics, domain-specific skills, and cross-cutting knowledge and skills, those are what we are going to review in the PMP exam content lessons. And just to look ahead a bit, here is how we are going to review all of this content in these lessons. For each of the PMI defined tasks, we will do a review of the actual text. We'll go ahead and together we will read the text. I will then go ahead and give you the interpretation, explanation of the task so that you understand what's going on with this task. What does this actually mean? Where appropriate, we'll also look at any relationships that this task has with any other tasks on the exam, and we will close the task by looking at how this task is influenced by ethics, give you a few examples of how you can do things ethically, and more fun of course, how you can do things really unethically. And when it comes to the skills that you need to know for the PMP exam, there are 2 types that are defined by PMI. The first are these domain-specific knowledge and skills, and the cross-cutting knowledge and skills are the other. In regards to the domain-specific skills, well, you know most of these already. We will review them where appropriate. The cross-cutting knowledge and skills, on the other hand, we will review all of these, with the exception of ethics. We have separate episodes in which we look at each of those cross-cutting knowledge and skills that the exam content documentation lists, with the exception of ethics, because, as you have seen on the previous slide, we will review ethics with each and every task that we are going to see. And the reason why we are doing all of this is rather simple. You will understand the exam content. You know what's coming and you know what's important. And because of that, you will feel ready to take the exam. Until next time.